Thanks, guys, for patience there. A few technical issues, but welcome back to episode 11 of the Tabletop Assault podcast. And today we have a full house and a returning special guest. So I'm your host, David, and we're joined by Ross, Rob, Stuart, and special guest is Louise, or Pixie Lou. Say hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Great energy there, guys. Loving it
we're
as
here.
always.
I sounded like I was confused there for some reason, like I didn't know what it was.
It's your natural state.
So, guys, today on the podcast, we're wanting to bring a couple of topics to bear. Nothing too heavy, but, we want to talk about Forgeworld. It's always a major topic on everyone's tongues. Everyone wants to know the future of Forgeworld. Some people love it, some people hate it. We've got a few things to talk about, a few things to discuss. House rules, as always, keep it PC with your comments. Any comments you do have, put it in the live chat, and we'll always do our best to get through to it and respond. Ultramarines jokes are kept off the table, and I will not be responding to them today at all. And anything you want, this will be a replayed video, so anything you want afterwards, you'll have it on the channel to rewatch and ask any additional questions that you all want. So I think first and foremost, before we even go into the topic, how's everyone doing? How's everyone been with lockdown? How y'all surviving?
Mental with work as always, because being a key worker in that lot, it's just 150,000 miles an hour.
Cats as well, I can see.
And cats, yeah.
Yeah, Thor would like to input as well that he's finding it hard with the humans in the house all the time. He would like them to leave and go to work sometimes.
But yeah, other than that, it's just like every other day, really. But working from home or once or twice working from the office where needed. So
happy days. Stuart, Ross, how you finding things? Loving life? Being cooped up at the moment? Getting your hobby stuff done? Computer games, models, all that sort of jazz?
I'm always loving life, man. All I've been doing is basically painting and home teaching one of my nephews, which now that's the stressful part. The painting's great, just, oh goodness, my nephew, bless his heart, he tries his best.
Stuart, I know you yourself is probably playing some video games or whatever. Keep him safe, keep him well.
Playing a couple, but like because my shifts keep jumping and changing from work, so I'm pretty much sometimes on the move or just sleeping most of the time. But yeah, just I think just been playing most of the time was a Pokemon Sword. That's really what I've just been playing when I can.
Oh, you just got Switch, didn't you?
Yeah, I just got Switch.
You child.
I do not care. I do not care. I hadn't played Pokemon. Was it Red? I think the last one I played. And I was like,
okay, OG, love it.
Yeah, so I was like, well, I wonder how it's changed. Wow, that game has changed. I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing. So when I got the spare time, I'll be doing that stuff and dealing with my flat and things like that. So yeah, it's all adulting and some gaming, I would say.
The right answer you should have said was you were on practicing Dawn of War 2, getting better at the game. So
no, we're not having this argument. No, I was totally fine. Pierce, you're the one that has the issue, not me. I'm fine. My guys are golden. Thank you very much.
Okay. For those
so, David, what have you been up to? How's your time?
Well, my time has been trying to learn new editing skills, I would say, for the channel. And
all right.
Trying to progress a wee bit of that, because I'd like to change a bit of the format up. I'd like to bring, when we get our battle reports back in order, try and bring something new to it. But other than that, I think you'll know my life revolves around my cats. And
yep.
Yes.
I've seen your social media. It's a lot of cats.
Yeah, but cats are the greatest. Cats are the
greatest. True. True.
Also, just to quickly touch on, for those who don't know, if you can, now we're doing some playthroughs on the channel, as we mentioned in our previous podcasts. Stuart and me are currently doing a Dawn of War 2 original campaign playthrough, where I know he's just going to infuriate me from start to finish. But for those who want to watch the first episode, please jump on to our channel and check it out. More episodes will be coming short. Quick plug there. Now let's move on. So, Forgeworld, guys, a lot to talk about today. Sort of first question I think we want to move into is where do we think Forgeworld currently fits in the current landscape of Games Workshop and Warhammer 40k? Certainly historically, Forgeworld's always sort of been this sort of side topic. I think we're all aware of it. Was this sort of unique thing that you've seen people bring these amazing models into the store. Oh, what was that? or these old sort of Armour core books. It's sort of kind of been slowly each year melded into the standard of Games Workshop range of models. But its current place, etc., it's interesting to see the future of it. I want to start off the first question: strengths and weaknesses of Forge World. Ross, take it away. Anything that you think Forge World has a good strength in the tabletop, and I'm not talking rule wise. I'm just talking about the range of model wise, adding something extra flavour, or does it have any weaknesses that take away from the game, in your opinion?
So that's an interesting question. I'm going to divert one thing to the side for a minute because it was something I wanted to state. Keep in mind, 2 weeks ago, we talked about the randomness and chance, and we talked about losing Maelstrom of War. Just want to say, apparently in White Dwarf, it's coming back. So we know the future. We predicted, we said it, and then it came back. So yeah, anytime we predict something, we know.
Ross,
Anyway,
I thought
Forge
you
World.
already knew I was the oracle of the channel, seeing as how the Silent King, etc. But that's fine.
Yeah, you did nail the Silent King prediction. That was pretty
I
impressive
think
as
I
well.
also
So
nailed Warhammer Fantasy Old World as well.
you did as well. You did predict that as well, and I said no chance. Yeah,
I
okay,
can't
maybe you're
confirm.
the one that's nailing this.
Yeah.
So Forge World. I think, in my honest view, Forge World is a little bit about almost gone its time. It's now moved to a speciality game basis, and what I mean by that is that the most new things that are coming out now are things like Blood Bowl and Middle Earth stuff for Lord of the Rings. So there has been a big visible change up for it, and we're seeing less stuff for 40k. I can't even remember the true last 40k thing. And Age of Sigmar, it was never huge of Age of Sigmar and Fantasy for Forge
True,
World.
yep.
It was very much a sort of 40k basis, but now it seems to be pulled away. And the only way I can see that being is that the quality of Games Workshop models have just outstripped Forge World in the past 10 years. Probably the beginning basis of that may be, Dark Elder when Drakari came out, the quality of that on such, I want to say, flimsy models, like the sails might break, etc., but they were great quality. And since then, Games Workshop's quality in terms of characters as well, one of the key things I remember for Forge World way back, going back at least 15 years, I think they had a massive Exalted Greater Demon Bloodthirster. I can't remember the name, it's
Still
huge.
Still do.
Yep. Still do, and I remember in high school, I'm pretty sure Eowyn, who's been on the channel, used that as his avatar on high school stuff. So that was that was a great quality for then. We're going 2005, 2006, and then if you look 15 years later, I don't believe their quality has quite kept up with Games Workshop, or it hasn't increased as much. So that's kind of the weakness side, is that it hasn't evolved there. Second weakness is, of course, resin. No one particularly likes resin. But what is it good? What is it good for? It does have a good back catalogue of, I think the strongest part was obviously the Horus Heresy. It gave a lot of Legion-specific stuff. Some of them have been taken out now. We used to get shoulder pauldrons and chest pieces and things. They're a bit harder to use now, Primaris and stuff. But I would probably say, in terms of some of these individual Legion stuff, it was very, very cool. Do the pauldrons still work? I don't know. But I just feel that it gave a bit of an individuality. And I think it was probably up until about 2007, just before 8th edition, really, it was really strong. You were seeing some cool vehicles. I got a Fire Raptor gunship. I should really try and repair and paint because it looked good in Chaos.
Is that the one I built for you and had an absolute nightmare?
You attempted to build.
Yeah, it was a nightmare.
There was a few. It was a nightmare. Well, that's Forge World sometimes. I didn't want to build it. I made you do it. And I just feel, in a lot of ways, it hasn't kept up with the time. And having it as a separate entity, just some of the shipping for international is really causing a problem for people as well. It's also half the Custodes Codex, which is very, very strange in itself. I know that was going for 30k, but they've basically used Forge World to bump up the Custodes Codex, which I feel is a bit unfair.
Okay.
So, in all honesty, I'm struggling to see the strengths of it these days.
That's
I think
fair enough.
I remember sitting on Fridays, and I'd be sitting in work, and I'd be like, right, Friday, I'm going to see the 9 o'clock sort of updates of the new vehicles, the new stuff, new Legions coming out. It was really cool. Now you just don't get that. It's if you're a Hobbit player or Blood Bowl, yeah, there's some cool stuff, but it just feels it's really gone away from 40k, and it never was the biggest fantasy one. but it's now I don't find its relevance anymore, and it's super expensive, and it's cost so much internationally, and I think that's a real problem.
So to wrap up, Ross, I think you're kind of thinking maybe not any strengths to spring to mind, just it's maybe losing its place then.
The strengths are its history. It's got a back catalogue of stuff that covers other areas, and as I said, the Custodies one, but I just don't see its future being its strengths. That's what I'm struggling with.
Okay, fair points. Talking about strengths and weaknesses, Rob, Pixie, any input you want to guys put to that? Anything you like about Forge World? Anything similar to Ross? Maybe you feel it's maybe lost its place there. Very interested as well, if I don't mind just tagging on to that. Experience of painting Forge World models as well.
I'll jump in because Rob's PC unfortunately just crashed and he's coming back in. So from my side of things, for painting, Forge World is amazing. Not gonna lie, I've not had a ton of models from Forge World. Like, having been in the hobby for so long, it was always one of those things where it was much more expensive for anything I wanted. I would need to save up for it. And it was more a kind of luxury purchase. To me, Forge World, I was saying this to Rob earlier, is kind of like a niche within a niche, if that makes sense.
Definitely does, yeah.
So in terms of painting, like, the models are stunning. Like, I absolutely love resin. So I pretty much agreed with everything Ross said, apart from, who likes resin. I absolutely love painting resin. The detail that I get out of it is stunning. And it's also usually got a little bit of texture as well, which helps me with the type of models I paint, but it's not suited to everything. In terms of building them, though, one example, I bought Rob the, I keep calling it the centipede. What's it called?
The Stalker.
Yeah, the Stalker for Necrons. The centipedes, yeah. Got him that, and it was pretty much a troll gift because I saw the tiny legs on it, and I'm like, oh, he's going to lose it. So, I was like, yeah, I'll get him that. That'll be funny. To build them is a nightmare. Painting them for me is an absolute dream. But it's a bit pricey for what it is, even taking into the fact that it is resin. When you look at other competitors out there that are doing the same material to maybe a slightly higher quality, it's maybe not as worth it as what it would have been 5-10 years ago.
Just a point to chime in there, that Tomb Sentinel model, Rob, if you have built it yet, I can totally empathise with your pain. That was arguably one of the toughest models I've ever had to build.
Not tried it as yet. That is on the list, but I've got some more important things to build and paint at the moment, like a 7,000 to 8,000 point commission.
Yeah.
for Pex at the moment, so it's on the back burners, but it will be done.
So, what about yourself, Rob? Anything Forge World that you think you quite like? It gives strengths to the game being there, or anything you think it kind of takes away from the current game? And this is based on 9th edition 40k, where Forge World has its place.
Yeah, what I loved about it previously is the Legion dreadnoughts. So and they still are absolutely fantastic. I had an old Death Guard standard dreadnought, but that was like the box dreadnought itself with pustules all over the place, holes and
I remember that dreadnought, and I love that old school model so much. I remember seeing that years back. It's incredible. For its time, it was an incredible model.
Yeah, I mean, I had two. At the time, I was working for GW, able to get Forge World through to the store, and was able to buy two of them at the time, which was fantastic. Same as Pix. Love to paint them. Yes, they have got a lot of Legion specific. A lot of it has gone. They are really concentrating on the 30k stuff, which is good, which is fair play. A lot of the 30k stuff that they have done is absolutely stunning.
Yeah, agreed.
Especially with the knights that they're doing for them, the massive shields, especially for the Dark Angels coming through this weekend.
I would love to take that unit and convert them into Grey Knights. They just look incredible.
You would.
Sacrilege, get out.
You would.
I don't like Dark Angels, but my word, I'd give up that hatred for that one unit as Grey Knights.
Yeah.
Hey, just keep in mind, Grey Knights and Dark Angels recently teamed up to take on Magnus. It's all right.
It wasn't all right.
They're cool. They're all right.
That was a marriage made of lies, more lies, and more lies.
Well, Dark Angels that's kind of what they're into.
Yeah, that's very true.
But at the same time, it always was a sight to see when somebody would actually bring in something from Forge World to a game shop, to a club, to a tournament or anything like that, and actually be numerous times for many years, you couldn't actually take any Forge World's models or units to a physical tournament, and that was even at like Warhammer World or anything like that. You just weren't allowed to use the rules or anything like that, which was a big shame. At the moment now, I think they're a fad, and they are dropping very quickly. I totally agree with you, Ross. The models at the moment for the whole of the GW range are getting better and better. A load of the characters are absolutely fantastic. The units are solid, and they are solid looking, and the multi-part kits are absolutely gorgeous. The new stuff, especially like again this weekend with the Cryptex, they were never able to do what they're able to do now, and the style of like the Psychomancer on and that style of character, the model, the sculpt, something like that. Now there's no stopping them, and I think we will see Forge World just drip away and just solely stick with 30k where they can.
Fair enough. I agree.
I don't think there's very much left on 30k to release.
Well, so just to say, yeah, on that one. But if Forge World wanted to print money, and I've said this a few times, is that if they give the rules, which they just did rules for, for their range, and I thought that's a wasted opportunity. The 1,000 Sun Contemptor Dreadnought,
yes.
and maybe the Battle Automata, I'd probably let it go. But certainly 1,000 Sun, it's got here 1,000 Sun Legion of Siren Pan Contemptor Dreadnought. If that's £53, you need to buy one of the weapons, but that is printed money. 1,000 Suns Codex is quite small in itself. You give them a Psychic Dreadnought like that, and I promise you, any 1,000 Sun player with a bit of extra cash, that model is stunning. It's got good rules.
Even if they didn't have the cash, they would save up specifically to get it.
It is a fantastic model, and it really does add something, I feel, to 1,000 Suns. If it did have rules, I think our 1,000 Suns would have at least one, or as many as we could scrounge up.
Yeah, but also like the actual units themselves for 1,000 Suns from Forge World, like I think the Terminators and all that.
Have you seen the 1,000 Suns Praetor?
Oh yes,
yeah, that's a good model. So there is a lot of good models there, and yeah, they do have a whole book on it, but there is still wasted potential there. And I just feel 1,000 Sun stuff, easy money.
Speaking of money,
in my mind,
this is some of the areas I want to question Stuart on, and it is kind of around Forge World, kind of staying on the theme of the good and bad. Is Stuart, if you were to hypothetically start another army, would you consider GW only models, or would you actually explore Forge World models? And if you were to explore Forge World, would that be for some points that you have already mentioned, those better maybe looking models, those more showcase models, or would you maybe be put off just by potentially the sheer price? I think as soon as anyone goes onto a Forge World website, the first thing you're instantly taken aback by is that price tag. What would you do, Stuart? Would you consider Forge World as part of your army, or would you be happy just with the GW range?
I mean, I think it's like everybody said. Really, it's basically it would be mainly a
luxury buy
model army, but with some sprinkles of the Forge World army put in. Just because pricing's pricing. Like some of them can be pretty nuts, and some of them can be pretty reasonable in some ways. But I mean, it's down to like the manufacturing as well. Like Games Workshop's done well enough, so the fact is like a basic beginner can, even without looking at a manual of how to glue everything together, could maybe get to grips of what to do. And I mean, I'm saying this in ignorance for Forge World. I don't know what it was I saw. It was a tank that was getting built, but the level of like shaving off just random wee bits that were not meant to be part of the model and all this sort of stuff for Forge World, you really need to have the tools and the knowledge to really assemble them. So they're very, very they're not friendly to beginners or anybody like that. So, I mean, from that perspective, like, I mean, when it comes to the custodies right now, a lot like their models. There's some in Games Workshop, but a lot of their models are really on Forge World. So, if you're picking an army like custodies, you're basically I'm going to be basically using most of the Forge World models to actually build an army from, or at least a varied looking army in a sense.
Ross, where's the bikes? The bikes guys come in Forge World, or are they GW kits?
They are GW kits, though there is a range of bikes on Forge World, but I'd argue that the GW ones are better.
Yeah, because
in terms of quality of artwork.
How was it? It's just leading to it. Was it Griff Falcon? No, that's the pattern, isn't it, of the jet bike? Yeah, it doesn't look as good.
Yeah, but they do have the Flash Gordon jump guys, which is always a good meme.
Yeah.
You know, that's a good meme. I don't have any of them. Dive. So, you know, there is them on Forge World, but it's mainly in terms of custodies. It's half their vehicle, like their entire vehicle range is on Forge World. But that's maybe a weakness of just not expanded.
Because I mean, it's even like even the squad that you had to get, Ross, was it the SAG? I'm terrible name. Sagittarium Guard.
Sagittarium Guard.
Sagittarium Guard. Like that's Forge World models. That's not part of the GW line.
Well, they're half Forge Worlds, half GW. The bodies are GW. The guns are not.
Oh, that makes it a wee bit, I would say, even worse. But the fact is, you have to buy from two separate places to get one unit in a sense. But
you can sort buy them both on Forge World, and they'll give you a GW box. But yeah, you are essentially right that you could buy the arms and stuff and go, wow, I've saved a lot of money. These are quite cheap. And then it's like, no, you've just bought the arms.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to, and I've not looked at a lot. Like I've seen a ton of stuff on like all the other armies, but I'm not too sure how they play, how they've done that for them. But like for custodies, it's not great for them at the moment. I don't know if GW is probably thinking of bringing more over to GW and making them a lot easier to build. Like was it the custodies Telemon Heavy Dreadnought? Like that one looks so cool, but I don't know if that's on GW.
No, it's not.
It's like mainly Forge World, so it's like I don't know. I would always say mainly GW. I would go with because I've never really looked into Forge World too much because it's always been seen by from yourselves telling me and stuff. It's very much a niche thing. Like you've basically got one Forge World model amongst a ton of GW models, really.
Yeah, but for custodians, it's nearly mandatory. To put in perspective, their heavy vehicle in their codex is a Land Raider, just a Land Raider, and you know the Forge World just gives them a bit of individuality. But that's one army in the whole scape of things, so it's necessary for custodians at the moment. But you know, for the rest, it's a bit tricky.
Yeah, pretty much, because like their problem is because their codex as well. Their codex has got like only some of the stuff that really is in Forge World, which you need to look up yourself to find it.
Yep.
So here's a really interesting point. Kind of, I've taken on note of all the things you're saying. I think like things. I think there's a common trend. But there was something, Ross, you mentioned earlier on, kind of briefly. Forge World, I think when no, that's fine. Forge World, I remember back in the day when I didn't buy any models from Forge World, but I was always mightily impressed with the upgrade sets. You know, the shoulder pads, the weaponry upgrades, the heraldry, those sort of unique kits to upgrade your GW range of models. However, I think we're seeing a massive growing trend, and that was always a really good market for Forge World. But there's a really growing trend of these third parties like Pop Goes the Monkey and stuff like that create their own shoulder pads and their old heraldry and their own weapons. Cromlech for all your upgrades for like your orcs and stuff, and a whole bunch of different companies that are producing other upgrades potentially more up to date and more user friendly with the casts that they use, but additionally at a much cheaper price. And I always felt Forge World, to me, its greatest strength was actually its upgrade sets rather than its model range. Purely out of personal hatred, because I used to hate building those models and having to shave them to fit because the casts were so clunky and large. But the upgrade kits, I found a real good purpose in place for them. But I'm beginning to lean towards these third-party retailers purely because they're producing the same stuff, if not sometimes better quality. But that's where Forge World for me was great. You would get those legions you would hear about in books. You know, like your Red Scorpions and stuff like that, your Minotaurs. You couldn't get them in the GW range. You only had to go to Forge World. Well, not anymore. again, Ross, what do you think about that? The upgrade side of things. Is that something that you think is maybe moving to the side with the third parties muscling in?
Well, yeah, that's a great point in terms of third parties doing it. So, as I said, I think it was either last week or the week before, 2 weeks ago or the week before. I don't mind really people being inspired and doing their artwork as long as they don't use the same mold, as long as they don't steal the sort of actual artwork that they used. Totally happy for people to do, and you are seeing it with shoulder pads because people can easily design a shoulder pad and the heraldry on it. It's far more affordable, and I think it's just an area that Games Workshop is a big company, so they need to price up their stuff a lot more, are just struggling. And there's individuals who can do, they can do a couple of shoulder pads a day as an individual if they've got a decent printer. Then the quality may not be as good, but the quality is jumping up. And as long as they did the artwork themselves, it was maybe inspired. I think that's the part that maybe, Forge World had these shoulder pads, they had rhino doors and everything as well. As long as their artwork is not actually being stolen, it's maybe being inspired by but not stolen, it's an area they're really struggling with. And when it comes to price, we all know that Games Workshop is moving in a dangerous direction of that one compared to what its customer bases think. But, that's up to the customer base on that one. I think that in terms of the individuality of it's mainly towards Marines. You never saw heraldry so much for Craft World or Necrons or anything, but it's just been an area that is exploded in the past couple of years, and certainly is really beginning to show.
Louise, Rob, obviously doing a whole sort of upgrade. You guys probably are in project of more different armies than we all are at the moment. You've got on your plate armies that you're building. Have you explored the third party market for your upgrades, for your armies and things like that? Have you ever looked at some of these companies that were mentioned?
Some of them, yeah, like Puppet Wars and all that lot, which are really, really good. Like saying for like Thousand Suns. So if you wanted to go back to Stargate style, then they like do the Jafar style, Egyptian jackal heads and all that, which look absolutely stunning and really, really good to use. Good prices, etc., etc. I've not used very many whatsoever. Like there's Shapeways as well that done a lot.
Shapeways, yeah, big one.
And I know quite a few friends used to use Shapeways as infills for changing heads, changing different styles, weaponry, vehicles, etc., etc. And I can see it growing even more because people are want to do something different. They want to be stuck in that one box that you have to do it like this because it never happens.
Okay.
And it gives them variety as well. But yeah, I do agree that upgrade packs were fantastic, and
to be the market for it.
You could, yeah, and if you find the right market and you find the right material, it opens it up massively.
Okay. Well, I'm going to quickly finish. Oh, sorry, Rob, to interrupt. We'll wrap up the Forge World thing with probably the biggest double-ended question we can have around the table. And obviously, Forge World, I think it's going to be an interesting journey to watch Forge World in the coming years, especially its place within GW. But for those who've maybe bought Forge World models, built Forge World models, I want to quickly just ask, it doesn't have to be one that you've bought actually, it can be one that you've seen, what your favourite Forge World model is, historically or currently in the range. And then additionally, do you think Forge World, by the time 10th edition is out, so the next edition, so that's what, 2.5, maybe 3-4 years from now, do we think Forge World will have either still a place in the game, or do we think Forge World will have decreased even further for its place in the game? Stuart, what do you think?
Decreasing in the game, I think it will either. I don't know. I always had this thought that I know technically GW owns Forge World. Am I correctly?
Yeah, they do.
In a way, but it's not really merged. They're not in one because of how they are. But I don't think Forge World's going to go away. I don't think so because they've got so many good models. Unless GW decides to go, look, Forge World's gone, but we've actually got all the models. I would see them doing it like that. Really, if it was going to go anyway. I'm trying to remember the models. There are so many that's what I love at Forgeworld, and I hate it just for the fact that
You
the
don't
models
have one.
are
You
so
don't have one.
cool, but they're so expensive. And I can't remember the model. What it was
Never think about
it was
it,
a
Stuart.
dreadnought.
It's all good.
What was it? It was a dreadnought. It had huge, massive, it looked like auto cannons and like just missile pods, and it was just giant.
Oh, I know this one.
the
I know this
Drado.
one. Drago, yeah, Drado one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One that I've got on my shelf. No, you can use it in 40k.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
a
can
Drado.
oh,
And,
I love that model. I
The
thought, it was,
Dredio.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I thought it was so cool.
Oh.
If you put that model on the table, everyone's like, "Yeah, I'm just losing. I'm just going to stop now."
Yeah. It's called the Dredio or the Derideo, or whatever it is.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah,
It was just that I thought they looked so cool, and I think it was like their kind of Titan line. I didn't look a lot on it that much, but I thought they just looked so cool.
Louise, picks. You think?
This is a dangerous question for me. Come on.
It's
In terms of Forgeworld,
space. You can say what you want.
just prepare yourselves for a list. So because for Forgeworld, for me, with the exception of a Tantalus for kills these points and termites just for in your face combat from armies, it's all for painting. So pretty much the vast majority of the Horus Heresy character range are pretty much one. There's very few exceptions in there. The main one I've kind of got my BDI on the now is Conrad, but I already bought that for Rob, so I need to resist the urge to randomly paint it.
You've got enough to paint as it is.
I know, but I really want to get Corvus Corax because Raven Guard. So I really want to get that. And then there's the kind of Admech looking one, Anacharis Scoria, probably just
for Dark Caracas.
Is that the one that's on the sort of
the large
throne or
plinth
something?
She's like, it's like a weird Dominus looking, weird scuttly.
Yeah, for Dark Caracas.
Got you. Cool.
It's quite cool. I don't know what I'd use it for, but but I definitely want the
an alternative
Corvus.
to Call.
Corvus is number one on the hit list.
Okay, cool.
Most definitely.
And do you think Forgeworld will be either less of an important player in GW in the next few years, or do you think it will be completely melded into GW in the next few years?
I would hope that it's completely melded in, but at the same time, I can see Forgeworld still having a place for things like that character series. That's not something that GW are necessarily going to do to the same scale, to the same detail, and the same material. And for somebody like me, part of the love of those models is the scale and is the fact that they're resin and the detail that's in them and the way they're manufactured. So that's partly what draws you to it. And I can't see GW rolling that out onto the high street. I think that is more of a niche thing within a niche thing, definitely. That for me is like the epitome of Forgeworld. So to me, I would hope it's still got its place, but overall I can't see it. I can see them trying to roll as much as possible into GW. Because they're not silly, they're taking into account as well the massive growth in like 3D printing and stuff. So they've got to, like as we're saying about the upgrade packs and stuff, they've got to take into consideration, and they are, that people are just designing these things themselves now because that's ultimately customizable beyond anything you can get from the store.
Very true. Very, very true.
So yeah, there's loads of different reasons for them kind of tailoring the range and kind of honing it down and rolling some of it into high street and keeping some more specialist stuff as Forgeworld.
Just going to quickly call you out on this as well. I love how you don't refer to GW, you call it GW. Very
it's GW.
Love it.
GW for life, like the same as Drakari or Deldar. The one thing I do have to nitpick about, I just have to get this.
What are you talking about?
Deldar, yeah, Dark Eldar, Deldar. The one thing I do have to nitpick, and I just have to, I need to get this off my chest, is it bugs me how little there is for Deldar, for Drakari on Forgeworld. Like, what's the deal? What's the deal? And you, Ross, would agree.
Yeah.
I think the deal probably comes down to the balance sheet and looking at how many people actually care about Dark Eldar. Because I think it's just you two. Really? I think it's just you two.
Ouch. Ouch.
Hang up. How did I hang up?
I know, right? Just because you secretly love Ultramarines and you just don't want to admit it in public, right? Don't take your angst out on us, okay?
I'm sure I've, like, in my back garden, I think I've got a burn pit. And I'm sure it's just plastic Ultramarine models. Yeah, definitely. Closet Ultramarine fan right here.
Definitely. You heard it first, guys.
Clip it.
Ross,
What's going on? Where's my boxing belt? I need to ring.
He insulted Deldar.
quickly from
Doesn't
you, Rob,
happen.
any favourite models? Anything you quite like?
Well, it's a difficult one.
Doesn't have to be your favourite then, just one that you think.
Well,
stands
go
out.
big or go home is basically the Warlord Titan.
Okay, yep.
That one is cool.
It's absolutely huge. When we're able to go back down south and all that, like to see with 2 kids, my parents' house where they are, where they live nearby, it's literally about 40-45 minutes away from HQ. Yep. So we used to go up there quite a bit and take the 2 kids up there, and every single time they both went straight into the Forgeworld section and stare at the Titans and go, yeah, that is at least a month and a half's wage or even more just to buy that.
You have a payment plan for it.
Yeah, the Knights are fantastic. All of the Primarchs for that series range are absolutely stunning. The one model that stands out for me, and I think they still do it, is actually an Age of Sigmar dragon, the big fat Nurgle dragon.
Yeah,
familiar.
The sculpt on that with the rider is absolutely stunning, and just able to see that as it is in the flesh is just mind-boggling on the physical detail, the size of it, the look of it, everything. Small fortune, but it's absolutely gorgeous.
And then finally,
So, yeah.
Forgeworld place still in the next few years, or
I'm going to take it on a whim, and I'm afraid to say I don't think they will have very much influence in gameplay for GW whatsoever. I feel they're going to take characters from each of the realms and make them a character series themselves. So you can have Lysander or Dante in your game, but then they'll create like the scale of like the 52mm scale or anything like that or even bigger. Possibly, I've got Pixies shaking their head severely on this.
They ditched 52 Ink 52 for a reason. It was too expensive to make.
But okay, they may take it to the scale of what the Primax are as it is, as like a character that you stick on the shelf, you paint it as a showpiece rather than you use it in game. So it's more of a collector's model rather than a gamer's model.
I think that's a really good point, Rob, that maybe they'll move towards sort of a showcase models rather than game. Because at the moment, for the Horus Heresy minus its game, a huge amount of 40k players buy them, can't use them, but they are showcase models, and that might move away from Forge World to Games Workshop.
But a lot of them as well is they use the Forge World models within the 40k army. So they'll take him as a captain, as a Terminator outfit, or they use the basis of the Forge World models and convert them and add 40k arms and 40k weaponry on there, because the base models look stunning, and from that you can do. It is sacrilege to convert and chop about the Forge World models for a 40k army, but at the same time as the main base of the model. I've got Pixie staring at me going, how very dare you.
Horrified.
But
the main bodies of Forge World models are fantastic to physically use in 40k, basically.
Happy days. Ross, can you quickly sum up your thoughts?
Yeah, basically, favourite model, I'll sum up quickly, is of the Thousand Suns Legion of Siren Pound Contemptor Dreadnought. Is a fantastic looking Dreadnought. Dreadnoughts sometimes can look very boring. Contemptors, the base one you get from Games Workshop, is boring, but the Thousand Suns one is a beautiful and stunning model, and it is a shame it cannot be used in 40k armies. It is a real travesty, I feel, for such a great model. Yep, I know 30k is a different game, that's why they get those models, but is such one that could easily be added into 40k. There's other models, won't go into them. As for whether I think Forge World will be around in the past, so I think it's only by pure
Future.
luck. Sorry, Future. I think it's only pure luck that they've actually been around as long as they have. In 2016, they brought out the not the Burning of Prospero, the Betrayal of Calth box set, which because 30k was actually very, very popular then. I know we played some in about 2015 and 16.
Yeah.
Then 8 came out, and because of its accessibility, it dived. But they obviously had a mindset of where 30k was. You don't make a box set like that and put it in Games Workshop stores and make a big deal about it, and then introduce 8th edition, and then do another one which was Burning of Prospero. It was very, very strange that obviously during production of these things, I think there was, upper management changes. So I think there was a big shift from making Forge World a big thing, as in, here's a box set of basic Marines, and then there's other stuff here. Now it seems to be pushed to the side. I can only imagine that it's probably legal and their 30k range that really keeps them going. Other than that, they're not very relevant to 40k minus Custodes, not relevant to Age of Sigmar particular at all. They're being given Middle Earth in its entirety, and I don't know how it's doing. And then the specialist games, they get a few models. It's 2 flagship stuff, they're not as relevant.
Okay. Thank you. I'll keep it short and sweet. One, I believe Forge World will still be here for a wee while longer, but I'm kind of in the same line with Pixie. I actually hope not. I just want there to be a consistent approach, and I'd rather it was just completely melded into GW as a brand. The model ranges, everything, just keeping it simple, keeping it one shop for all. And I guess under the one stewardship, there'd be a lot clearer guidance as a company where they're going with Forge World and what they want to do with it. Let less politics involved. That's just my opinion on that. Favorite sort of model? Really quickly, it has to be the one and only Horus. I think Horus looks absolutely beautiful as a Primarch.
It's a nice model.
Yep.
Iconic, and you can really paint that as, the Black Legion Horus, or you can paint it as Luna Wolves Horus as well. Both look absolutely great. The cast is phenomenal, and it's really captured to what some people say was the ultimate arch nemesis of the Imperium. I think in a model incredibly well.
I can't believe no one said Deathcore, for the memes alone. No one said Deathcore Krieg, but never mind.
No, it has to be Horus, my big boy Horus.
Yeah, I know you're a big fan.
Happy days, guys. Well, bit of a discussion on Forge World there. Thanks to everyone around the table for your thoughts. Obviously, Forge World is one of these ones that I think every year there's a wee evolution to it. So we'll certainly be watching it with open eyes and bated breath.
Oh, I remembered.
Yep,
sorry, I'm just going to cut you off.
So 4 weeks a bit later, Stu. Come on.
Just really quickly says, I remembered it. Leviathan Dreadnought.
Classic.
Well
Yeah.
Well done.
Had one, sold it.
Yeah. That one made Forge World a lot of money.
Yeah.
Go on.
Right. Okay.
No. Dave wants to move on. We're moving on.
I'm just glad Stuart, picked up in this podcast rather than waiting for 4 podcasts down the line to tell us that.
There's a brain fart. Okay, brain fart. I just remembered.
Right, so we'll move into our next few segment of every week's podcast. Obviously, we want to talk about some of the updates, and oh boy, there's been some good ones this week. Now, I'm actually just going to go off of one which isn't tabletop related, and I want to talk about this one straight away. We obviously had the big announcement yesterday. Warhammer Total War 3.
3.
Now, one, I just want to give my quick opinion on this. I actually had a chat with a good friend that I'm playing Warhammer Total War 2 online campaign with the night before the announcement on the 2nd there. And they'd asked me what my opinion was on that sort of Twitter. They had that sort of 30-second wee video. Well, what does it all mean? What does it all mean? And as much as I called myself the Oracle in the start of this episode, I have to quickly just back down on that and say I'm actually not, because I called it totally wrong with that gentleman. I'd assumed that I was struggling to think what else they can do in Warhammer Total War, so I said it'll just be another DLC pack, it'll just be something adding on to Warhammer Total War 2. How wrong was I? So if you're listening, I got it totally wrong, and unfortunately that person was saying he hopes it wasn't a new game, because he's only just got into Warhammer Total War 2, and doesn't want to have to buy another new game. Unlucky for
So,
you.
David, I'm going to save your your rep here. I think you're very good at blind guesses. You go, I think this is going to. There was no hints to the Silent King when you said it. There was no discussion on it whatsoever. You were given a hint of something, and you went, "It's not going to happen." So, blind guesses, nail them. That's your specialty.
Okay, thanks for the saving grace there, Ross. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I'm always your supporter on this.
Yeah,
he's got your back.
Yes.
Got your back, man.
So what did we get, guys? Before we get your opinions, we got a brand new trailer for Warhammer Total War 3, which basically gave you an epic battle scene or story between the faction Kislev and the 4 Chaos Gods, essentially, because it had a wee showcase of Nurgle, Slanesh, Tzeentch, and then culminating in the Bloodthirster coming to the battlefield. Obviously, it's not Age of Sigmar, it's still in the old world. It clearly described in the description that this is the frozen Norse of the old world, so we're still in that sort of realm of fantasy, which is great. We've not evolved into Age of Sigmar yet, but I thought it was a really good sort of trailer, good twist. Didn't see it coming from Total War. Really excited to see what they do next. I'm just a little bit worried that there may not be anything that much new that hasn't been done already. Warhammer Total War 2 added a lot of new factions and there'll be a new way to play the game. What Warhammer Total War 3 bring, I don't know.
So just to say on this one, I don't know if you saw as well, a lot of people talking about it. There was a talk of, I believe, the faction Cathay, on that one as well. It was hinted the dragon city of Cathay or something, dragon.
Okay.
So there is, like, when it comes to the human side, they're certainly just like pushing it out the window. They're going, right, Kislev, throw that out there. This other one that I've never heard of, and I see there's a lot of people going, people haven't heard of this one. Well, I hadn't heard of it, but it's apparently like the biggest landmass, like, empire in fantasy. So I think hopefully there'll be demons, obviously, Kislev. There'll be this Cathay faction, Dragon one. I don't know anything about it because I'm a casual. I hope there's Ogre Kingdoms. I think that would bring a big variety in terms of how you play. So I still think, if Vampire Coast proved anything, is that they can take existing armies and put a really unique spin on them, and we may see more of that, which will be quite interesting.
Okay, I actually, the Dragon faction, the Dragon of Cathay, or whatever they're called, I did see them mention that, and I seen obviously there was an article on it. I actually feel that most people don't know that faction. I actually highly doubt. I think a lot of people are just being keyboard warriors there. Is I've been involved in fantasy for quite a while, and I don't ever remember them being referred to in either a standalone, like, major power as such.
I think they're even mentioned in the Warhammer posts.
They are mentioned in the Warhammer
specifically.
post. They mentioned the Warhammer post, as in you'll get to, for the first time, I believe, see the new fascinating faction. I think they refer to it as.
Yeah. Okay, right.
Interesting. Yeah. Round the table, I want to go Stuart first, obviously, because you've kind of recently got back into Warhammer Total War. I think me and you, Stuart, we're playing a vampire campaign at the moment.
Yeah, I'm not doing very well at it, but yeah, it's going there.
Yeah, new game. What do you think?
Honestly, if you want my truthful opinion, I ignored it. Only for the fact is, I think I've heard that Bloodthirster's going to be in it and stuff like that, and I'm like, cool. But I think it's just because I think when it comes to this year, when it comes to games, when it's all that, people have been burned too many times, and I'm not putting it on creative assembly. They've done great with Warhammer 1, Total War Warhammer 1, and 2 has been really good as well.
2 was great.
3, yeah. I have hopes for it to be good, and there's big changes, and from what I've heard, yeah, they're going to be adding a few interesting things. Bloodthirster, I did have my opinion go, why was that not in Warhammer? See, I think that's when I had a problem with, is the fact it's all the Warhammer
DLC,
games.
Stuart, that's why it wasn't in it.
Yeah, but that's my problem. It's the fact is when you bring out 2 Warhammer Total War games and you don't add chaos straight away, like, you've got to get that through DLC, and it's like, why are they not an actual faction that should be in it from the get-go? And I was like, and then I was off on a tangent myself, going, well, Bloodthirsters, why have they not been in the game? And this is you're 2 games in now, and you've not bothered to add a Bloodthirster in, which is a wee bit weird, but okay. But I mean, I don't know. I don't really have much of an opinion on it. I'm just like, good, you brought out a trailer. I'm just gonna go, cool. You've made an announcement. Back it up. Like, I think I'm being very cynical, and that's fair enough. But I think just because of this year, and I think the previous year as well, a lot of people have been burned by releases of other games that I'm just very skeptical.
I just understood what you meant at the end there. I was like, oh, you mean that game, right? Okay, I get you.
Oh, not that game specifically. But yes, that game teetered it a lot over that edge. But I mean, Creative Assembly, I'm still giving them high hopes in the sense of like they do great work, they do cool stuff, and like the games have been really, really well done, and you know, not a ton of like bugs in a sense, but they've been really well done. So I would always hold off my opinion until I can see like at least a half decent gameplay trailer. I might form a sort of opinion of it. But besides right now, I'm just holding my tongue going, put your money where your mouth is. Hopefully it's going to be amazing. And that's where it is, really.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yep, have previously, but the thing that I love about it is you'll be able to see Boris on his bear for Kislev. If you don't know who yeah, exactly. If you don't know who Boris is, he's one of the main characters, Captain that's right-hand man to the Ice Queen in Kislev, and he sat on a carpet on top of his bear, roaming around, shouting and screaming as like a typical Russian. And it was a stunning model. I was lucky enough to actually buy 2 of them before they went out of production, and I used them to make ghost bears for my undead back in the day. And just seeing Kislev get some love, which is fantastic. Can't wait to actually see him on it. So, great.
Okay, happy days. Louise, what about yourself?
So I have played the first one and the second one, just not in a very long time, because I kind of burned out on it. I kind of play games to the point where I just get sick of them.
Okay.
Do the same with watching TV and listening to music.
Fine, as long as you don't ever mention Lord of the Rings, then you're fine.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You can never get tired of that. But yeah, so when I saw the trailer, it looked really good, and of course, seeing it was Kislev and the Ice Queen, I was just like, oh my god, this is awesome. So I am going to get it. I'm not going to run out and pre-order it. I've already burnt my pre-order game budget for the next God knows how long. But I will definitely be getting it and at least seeing what it's like.
Just on that point, you both kind of mentioned there characters like Boris and obviously the Ice Queen. Does anyone around the table think that a release of Warhammer Total War 3 might spark GW to release some limited edition models?
Oh, I wish.
Sorry, Dave, what's your question?
So obviously Total War is just bringing out this new game, right? Total War 3.
Right. Yeah.
Louise and Rob have just clearly pointed out they like the character Boris on the bear, they like the Ice Queen. These are unique characters. Do you think that upon the release or after the release, GW might cash in on that and release some limited edition models?
So Kislev is coming out for Old World Warhammer. That is, they've shown the artwork.
Yep,
You know, so I mean, if they don't have Boris, then it can only be a political or licensing thing. They can't. It's there's got to be a leader on top of a bear riding about doing shenanigans. There was one called Boris. Kislev is a callback to back then. It has to happen. You know, without question. It may not be called Boris because there might be something going on, but it has to be. There has to be. So, you know, and we're getting a range in a few years' time anyway.
You've
so
just led into my next point, which Ross was going to be the connection to the Old World Wars reveal last week, which was obviously Kislev, and then the following few weeks you're getting Warhammer Total War 3 announced with Kislev. I just thought it was quite interesting timing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I didn't put that together, but yeah, true. They just haven't shown Boris. We want Boris.
Ross, what about yourself? Warhammer Total War 3, obviously you've played both the games quite considerably with myself and on your own, so...
Well, you did ask me this earlier and I brought up Ogre Kingdoms and everything as well. Yeah, we've played endless amount of campaigns, David. Me and you have played... Oh goodness, we have a massive one going at the moment trying to take over the known world, the whole known world. And we will add on another section. We're going to be stuck in this for a while.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, no, I know you did kind of chime in earlier on with your points. That's fair enough. Well, I'm quite excited. I'm looking forward to it. We'll wrap up on this point, but I think it's going to be something to keep an eye on. I was glad you mentioned, you may not have known you mentioned there, obviously the tie-in to Old World Wars, Ross, because I just found it very interesting timing that Kislev is announced as one of the main factions for Old World, and then Warhammer Total War 3 comes out with Kislev as in such a humongous way.
It's just unusual that, you know, they're marketing Kislev on both. That's fine, but they're going to release years apart, unless Total War 3's years behind.
I think it's
20, I doubt that.
They said it was 20
I think
this year.
I think it's this year, but Warhammer, you know, Old Worlds is going to be at least another 2, maybe 3 years.
I even think
at least.
Total War 3 pre-orders are actually up on Steam as we speak as well.
Yeah, so I find it interesting in the marketing side, but they're not going to correlate with each other.
So the final point I'll lead on that is, Ross, I will need you to start designing some Warhammer Total War 3 thumbnails, please. So end of this, you can get to work on that. That'd be great. Thank you very much.
No.
Okay, so moving on. The next sort of update and the last one really for the Warhammer community I wanted to touch on was, I believe a couple of days ago, it was marked the 3rd of February, so it was actually yesterday. I'm forgetting my days. We obviously kind of got some of this stuff revealed, I think, on Warhammer TV over on Twitch, but they kind of gave you a peek inside of the sort of mini Warhammer box games that are coming later 2021. So the 3 they kind of touched on was Warhammer Age of Sigmar Bladeborn, which I'm actually quite interested in. You also had Doomsday Countdown, which I'm sure that was a cooperative game, a cooperative tabletop game with a few models down there. And then obviously they had the Fire Team. In Fire Team, I was quite interested. It looked like a sort of proto-proxy of Kill Team. Correct me if I'm wrong. But is anyone on the table has seen this article, seen these sort of games getting talked about yet?
No.
So yeah, Bladeborn is almost a miniature version of. Now I've only played Warcry once, but in terms of, I think you saw the cards for the last game, and they look like Kill Team, Fire Team. So Bladeborn is basically sort of, I believe, a little bit of a Warcry. I think these are almost intro games to, say, Warcry or Kill Team. You know, that are maybe not as rule intensive. You're given these models and you can play, and the cards are there, and it's very, very simplified. I don't know what Doomsday is probably an equivalent of. Maybe that one they had where it was like, there was like one, you know, maybe something like, what do you call it? Oh, it forgets me. Gene Stealers and Terminators. Space Hulk. Possibly a bit like that, but I don't know. But they're sort of like intro games. They'll be nice, but these games have come and gone. They've been alright sellers in terms of expanding the branches of the game to get people go, this might be cool. Some if you like sort of, you don't want to get fully invested in Games Workshop games, you want a quick one you can maybe play. These are quite nice, cool models, gives you something to paint. But yeah, not bad. We've got things like Warcry Kill Team coming out as well, which is like the next step up, and I find more of the people who are invested in the hobby will probably aim towards them than these. But it's a good way to get people in the hobby.
Yeah, they did definitely look like sort of introduction games. Stuart, if you've not seen it, I've just linked it to you in Facebook, buddy. They seem to be sort of 3 mini games. I think this is something that I think GW in particular is maybe wanting to push, and you're right, probably to introduce more people to the hobby. I think, was there not something to do with Ultramarines and Death Guard? They had a sort of mini game that came out for the launch of 9th. I heard that was a wee bit of a success, bringing people into it. The interesting one for me was the Kill Team one. I mean, I looked at the cards and the pictures. I got a feeling of Execution Force, the old Assassinorum game, just by looking at the data card clearly as how your character's defined. It looked very similar to Officio Assassinorum, which, as I'm on that point, is a game I want to bring back to the channel imminently. There's nothing better than assassinating. Rob, Louise, did you get a chance to have a look at these sort of mini game releases?
I had a brief look, and I'm sorry to say, just nothing really jumped at me for them.
Yeah, definitely geared for players then.
Yeah, they'll be right for newbies or starters for like a small board game, etc., etc. But just nothing really grabbed me to say, yes, buy these for the minis and buy this for that. There's just nothing to it, I'm afraid to say.
Just on that, we mentioned Warcry, sorry, because obviously the first one they talked about, which was Bladeborn. Louise, Rob, did you get a chance to actually play Warcry? So I know you bought the set. Did you ever get a couple of games, try it out?
We had 1 or 2 games. The first game was horrendous because instead of using the models from the box, and by horrendous I mean severely unbalanced, because instead of using the models you get in the box, I used my Night Hunt because I bought the cards for them, and with the mission
I used the chaos from the book.
Yeah, with the mission that we pulled, it was basically an instant win for the Night Hunt.
Without even trying.
Yeah, just because of their movement. Wow. So it was rather unbalanced. I think we had 1 more game after that, didn't we?
No, I don't think we did.
Did we not? No. I might have played the game elsewhere. But I actually, even just basing it on that one game, really liked the mechanic of Warcry. The fact that there's the way you're drawing the cards, there's so many different combinations you can do for the game. So the replayability factor in it is really good. And
the scenery's fantastic.
Yeah, the scenery's great. I love all of my box games, but with the new ones that they previewed, there was one of them, and I can't remember the name of it, I looked at and went, yeah, the models are alright, but like Rob, there was just nothing jumping up and down at me saying, buy me, and normally I'm a sucker for box games. I'll go and buy them.
Well, they do have Curse City coming out as well.
I think that might have been the one that I looked at and went, ooh.
Skeletons, I think, and we all seen the vampire one as well, got kind of announced.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be the one. If I do buy a box game, that'll be the one that I will actually go out and buy, because they've hyped it up in the right manner. It looks amazing.
Rob, Louise, have you guys played any of the Warhammer Quest stuff, like Silver Tower or Hammerhall, I think it was called?
I've played Silver Tower to death, not recently, but myself and Nurgle's Chosen in chat and a few other mates pretty much played Silver Tower to death a few years ago.
Here as well.
Still got it here, bought all the extra characters, absolutely adore the game. What do you get against it? But,
I was about to say, if it wasn't for lockdown, I'd be like, right, guys, when are we playing? I've never played it, and I really want to. I hear great things. That's why I wanted to hear what you guys thought.
Board games.
I
mean, I just saw that link, Pierce, as well. I mean, they look pretty good. I mean, I'm just like judging at a quick glance because of the pictures. Bladeborn and Fireteam look awfully similar to Underworld just by the layout.
I do believe they're actually Bladeborn is an actual Underworld team. I could be wrong in that, but I think they are Underworld teams as well.
Yeah, they could use the models and use them as through the Underworld.
You can use them in Underworld potentially. I don't think Bladeborn is Underworld though.
No, it's Warcry, but they are definitely Underworld teams. I'm 90% sure on that.
I mean, the way that even the boards like set out, it's very Underworld.
Oh yeah.
It's the hexagon.
That's more Underworld than it is Warcry, but the cards for Warcry, yeah. Oh yeah, I didn't notice that.
Okay, so that's some updates from the community. Obviously, Warhammer Total War 3 was probably the biggest one that I think came out that probably got the community talking the most. The week before was obviously all the vampires, but I've probably heard enough about vampires for a week now.
Vampires.
You know, yeah. Obviously, there's a couple of things. Obviously, I want to just quickly touch on to close this podcast off today as well. Is thinking about the year ahead. There's something I wanted to put around the table because obviously we've got everyone as a full house, and this is something as a viewer I thought could be quite interesting for putting your comments, those that are listening and those that are watching, in the replays. Obviously, we want to strive to try and bring as many sort of varied games as we possibly can to the channel. So at the moment, our standard content, as everyone knows, is 40k battle reports. We've then got Underworlds and Kill Team. We're hoping to try and get back on the go soon. Obviously, lockdown doesn't help, but when lockdown is lifted, and hopefully we can all work on things, you know, prior to lockdown with the time we have in our hands at the moment. There's a couple of games that I thought we wanted to put out there, and I'll also put this in a poll as well on the Warhammer or YouTube community page. But the following games is something we'd like to get a wee input. So obviously the first one is Blood Bowl, no matter what season it is, but just Blood Bowl as a game in general. If it's something that you guys would want to see in the channel, because we certainly have enough players. And I'm obviously a big NFL sports fan, and I would try and advocate anything close to NFL, and certainly Blood Bowl comes pretty close. So Blood Bowl was obviously one of them. Warcry was another one, bringing Warcry to the channel, because I think we've all got some kind of foot in that one. And then Blackstone Fortress. Blackstone Fortress was another one. I've played Blackstone Fortress a few times and I'm absolutely obsessed with it, but again, I know it's a sort of story-driven campaign. But Blackstone Fortress, another one. And then the fourth one I was going to leave open to suggestion. Anyone in the channel or anyone outside in the comments and viewers listening, if there's a fourth game that you think would be really good and you would love us to try and explore, then please let us know. There's tons of board games out there. I think Ross would rather Kingdom Death to come in a heartbeat, but I think that's too much of an investment.
It's a bit heavy for the channel. Some of the stuff I have.
I don't really think it falls within the PG.
Yeah, it does not fall in the PG category.
But while I've got everyone on, you don't have to give an answer just now if you want to think about it, but if you have been thinking for the last couple of months or weeks on one of those that you'd like to bring. Now, obviously, the obvious one I'm going to rule out is Age of Sigmar as a whole, because it's just such a large investment to do. But, what about yourself, Ross? Is there any games you've been thinking of that you maybe want to start looking at or explore?
Yeah, Blood Bowl, man. Blood Bowl. Got to get dressed up for it as well.
Wow.
Not in a 2-2, please.
Why did I just make him the referee?
Then everyone's like, you thought Kingdom Death was going to be 18 rated. No, I'm joking. No, basically, Blood Bowl, it's a very simple one. We get our, a couple of teams that we as individuals like. I saw the latest Undeath one. Looks great.
Got one.
You've got it already, yep. I think you've got quite a few teams, do you not, Rob?
Yeah,
we've got about 7 or 8 teams at least.
Oh my god. So we're ready to go. We just need to get our costumes sorted. Get the costumes, we're good to go.
351!
So Blood Bowl...
Ross, he's our man. He's not going to do it if no one can.
Stuart, what about yourself? If you had a thought, and again, you don't have to answer it if you've not really set on something, if you want more time to think about it, just in case you have been thinking it in the last few months.
Board games to see in the channel. I mean, I never played it a ton, and I've played it, a total of 2-3 times now. Risk, I thought it was a pretty cool board game. And that I know it's not Warhammer related. No,
it doesn't have to be Warhammer related. I said the fourth one could be anything. I just want to let you know, Risk is a home wrecker, so be careful.
Stuart, your brother has endless amounts of board games. Endless. And I know you've played them a lot. You choose Risk.
Guys, if you want board games, come round here to the room of game.
It's like that scene in Harry Potter.
Unpainted models.
No, shush.
Minor detail, okay? They're decorative.
But board games ranging from Mansions of Madness, Cthulhu, through to
Arcadia Quest,
Roots. We've got Crisis Protocol. So Marvel fans.
So Rob, what one do you want to see on the channel then?
What
would you play?
Pick one.
There's 2 that are very, very much interlinked, and Pixie's going to say the other one very, very much soon as well. Is and I've said this a couple of times before, a game called Battletech, and the reason for that is it's a 30-year-old epic. So it's Titans on a board that you can play 3D with tanks, infantry, 100-ton mechs running about, blowing up buildings, taking each other out, and you only need 3 or 4 models each. Really, really cool. And it links into GW version, which everybody should know, Adeptus Titanicus.
Okay. And I'm assuming, does that then link into what Picture
Picture's
next?
Yeah, he just ruined it. He
sure.
already said it. So, Titanicus, not going to lie, not played it. Watched a lot of YouTube videos of other people playing it. And I'm just obsessed with baby knights. Miniature knights, they're adorable. How can you not love baby knights? That's the main draw for me. I'm a weirdo. So yeah, baby knights, because I might actually paint a full knight.
No. But at the same time, it's just going from what I like is changing the scale of the games. So everybody loves 28mm, 32mm, the whole lot, and been playing it for God knows how long. Changing the scale to 6mm, so you have like your knights, your tanks, your aircraft on smaller scale. It's just so much fun. So much fun. And if they ever bring back Epic, because they've got Aeronautica and they've got Titanicus, the next stage is just linking them together and putting infantry and tanks involved on it. Then hallelujah, praise be the Lord. Let's do it.
Oh well, with those you've heard the us as a channel, we voted, but we are again though we are driven by the content that the viewers want. So we would say, guys, put your comments in there, and again there will be a poll. If you don't want to put it in a comment, the YouTube community page will have a poll up with your options, and please feel free to vote.
Yeah, just to say, Pierce, quickly, you said Risk is a home record. No, if we want this channel to end in one night, we play Monopoly together.
Yeah.
I win. I'm undefeated. Come at me.
Sure, we can do that. if you want.
Instant competitiveness.
Sure. I love how you're saying that you're undefeated. That's great, but that's even sweeter for me because I won't say I'm undefeated, but I savor bringing down people that are undefeated. That's glorious.
This is not. You don't play the rule that you still gain money when you're in jail. That does not count. Ross done that last time, and it made it so unfair.
What you have to do is if you're playing true Monopoly, you pre-discuss the house rules. Discuss them, because the last thing you want is you're going halfway through the game and then someone pulls their trump card on you, which is a rule that they've kept hidden in their pocket the whole time. You didn't pre-discuss it.
Yeah.
So there's apparently I don't know if it's a new version of Monopoly, but if you want to Google it, Millennium Monopoly.
What?
Google it. Have a look at it.
Millennium Monopoly or Millennial Monopoly.
Millennial, as in if you're a millennial
so
trying to get in the property market.
Brilliant. Yeah, brilliant. I love how I can just hear everyone's keyboards quickly thrash to Google.
I'm like,
It's
millennial. Oh no!
Oh no!
Covered.
So
yeah.
On that note,
it's only like 20 quid. I might order it.
No. No.
One of those things you kind of you do like you earn $20 and you do a dab or something.
I'm so sorry, guys.
Yeah, guys.
Right,
on that note, I'm gonna bring things to a nice, beautiful close because Ross is about to create carnage with that alone.
Yep.
That's what I do.
It's an Amazon. It's an Amazon.
So, guys, to everyone who tuned in today and everyone who's watching the replay back on our YouTube page, thank you for joining us. Thanks for listening to us just rambling on about our hobbies and in Forge World today. Thanks as well to Pix for joining us again on this episode. Always nice to have you on. And thanks to everyone who joined us, Rob, Ross and Stuart, for making it a full house today. But from all of us, guys, you want to say your goodbyes?
Goodbye.
Bye.
Take care and stay safe.
Your goodbyes are more enthusiastic than your hellos today. That was great.
Hey, I think you'll find you got my work customer service hello. It was like, hi everyone.
Fair enough. So guys, tune us next time for episode 12 of our podcast. And obviously check us out for one of our Tabletop Assault Battle Reports. Thanks again. See you next week.